This podcast is brought to you by Kiwi Design, the leader in MetaQuest and VR accessories. And now you can deck out your device while supporting the podcast. The MetaQuest 2 is a great headset, but do you ever feel things could be a bit more comfortable? Well, we have the solution for you. With lens protectors, controller grips, face covers, head straps, link cables, headset stands, and more, including my two personal favorites, the top version controller grips with added weight and an extended handle, and the Kiwi upgraded Elite strap. Let's be real, we've all whacked our controller. Don't be the guy messaging Oculus support for your own mistake or waiting weeks for an out-of-stock controller. Visit the link in our show notes to prepare yourself today. After visiting the link in our show notes, make sure to use the promo code Ruff Talk VR at checkout, all one word, to take full advantage of your savings. And make sure to click the link in our show notes so the podcast gets credit and you help support us. Remember, whatever you need, Kiwi has you covered. Hey, welcome to this episode of Ruff Talk VR. On Monday, we did our little, Monday morning news and PAX East wrap up in terms of thoughts and stuff like that, but we didn't get into the interviews that we had conducted on the floor of PAX East, so that's what we're doing today. As you can imagine, there was a lot to do in the lead up to PAX, so didn't get the ample time to feel comfortable doing a review of Vacation Simulator yet, but selfishly, I'm going to enjoy having another week to chip away on that. Yeah, Reggie's a little pushy. He had me gone for 2 days, and now I'm home and I'm recording. He's like, "Hey, bro,
let's go for a walk." Man.
Yeah, come on, man. It's time to hang out. So
why are we doing this? I don't understand.
So, what we got going on today's episode is kind of a mashup of all of the interviews, like I said, that we did on the floor. You'll hear us do a little podcast intro and outro on the floor too. Actually, to be technical, the outro is really cool. It's in the car.
Yeah, that was original.
Yeah, but I figured for consistency, we should start with our good old Shure mics here and, do our typical little intro and, kind of segue into the interviews instead of just, throwing them all together and hoping for the best. So when we showed up there, the first thing we had to do was go to the Resolution Games booth, check out what they were showing with Demio. Like we said on Monday, they killed it at their booth, man. They crushed it. Kicked ass, always had lines. They staff on deck, crushing it. So we showed up and we got to talk with Jim Squires, who's, their PR guy, and for good reason. Man, he had me I wanted to go play Demio, even though I've already played it 100 times. I was about to get in line and play it on the computer right there. Did a really good job hyping up Demio and, some of the other stuff Resolution Games is working on. And then, before our interview with Jim, let's actually check out this clip, too, of us, on the floor of PAX. Pretty much, we had showed up a little bit before the expo hall opened. So we did what we do. We walked everywhere on all the different floors, kind of got familiar with the whole layout of the building. Expo hall opened. We tested the equipment. We had to do a little quick shot. So check this out, and then we'll get right into the interview with Jim Squires of Resolution Games. And we've arrived. We're here at PAX East.
Holy Moses. We actually were able to find a little place tucked away in a corner, but I tell no lies when it is hundreds upon hundreds of people behind us coming down these escalators.
Yeah, we're in a little bit of a quiet area, you could say. It might not look like the most amount of people.
Which is nice to know it does exist.
Yes, there's a few nice spots that I think we can sneak away and record some content, but we have some good interviews planned already, and plus, who knows who we're going to bump into here today.
Oh, yeah, This place is absolutely, it's actually got so many more vendors than, and companies than I would have thought. But I was actually, reason why vendor jumped in my head, I didn't expect to see the amount of actually,
merchandise.
Yeah, we'll say third-party vendors, T-shirts, but so far, it's just from walking in the door and getting to this one little area, this is over the top.
We're only here Friday and Saturday, and even that, I thought we would have too much time, but looking at how much there is to check out.
Saturday is sold out, correct?
Yep, Saturday sold out, and I think Friday did too. So I thought we were going to have too much time to check out things, but I think we got to start looking at stuff right now.
Yeah, no, we got 2 maps, we've got 2 extra maps, we got a full plan of attack to do, but this is already walking in the door, it's exceeded my expectations.
Oh yeah, so we got some fun stuff with Resolution Games, with Peaky Blinders, so stay tuned.
Peaky Blinders, dude, I'm excited because I've been playing it.
Been loving it.
And watching, because I knew we were going to be playing it, I wanted to see the show, so I've actually been trying to get in as much show as I can.
So stay tuned for that, and
fun day all around.
Yeah, wish us luck at PAX East.
So check out this interview to start the show with Jim Squires of Resolution Games, and then we'll be back with you from there.
And we are here at the Resolution Games booth with Jim Squires.
I almost messed it up on the get-go.
Almost messing up on the get-go, but we're checking out Demio, and I'll be honest with you,
Their booth is on fire, man.
stealing
It's
a bit of the show. But before we get into it, Jim, do you mind to tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do here at Resolution Games?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. So as you mentioned, I am Jim Squires, and thank you for pronouncing it right. I am the Director of Games PR here at Resolution Games. It is my job to help players find out about us through media, essentially. So I want to make sure that wherever you are reading, watching, whatever, they know about our great games like Demio or Ultimax or Spatial Ops. They're talking about them so that you can hear about them.
So basically, he's got the dream job you'd want to have at any good tech company.
Well, if you ask me, judging by the reception, the amount of people stopping here, it looks like Jim's doing a damn good job at what he does, too.
Yeah.
But let's be real, when a game's as good as Demio, it's pretty easy to spread the word.
All you got to do is show up and turn the lights on. That's always been my opinion with it. At this point, it's taken, to me, from where it was, I feel like this game has really taken on a life of its own.
And it looks like you have a couple different play test setups going on. So do you mind to tell us, what you got going on here between the computers, the Quest, the PSVR?
Yeah, absolutely. So as you guys know, Demio is on a bunch of platforms nowadays. We're kind of slowly taking over the world, which is great. We started in VR, and so I think initially it was Quest and Steam, but last year at this time at PAX East, we rolled out Demio PC Edition. So that would let folks cross-play. So we have that here as well. I'm trying to think what we have here. We have a lot here and then a lot not here. So we're kind of all over the place with Demio. We have PC Edition playable. We have Quest 2 units playable. We have PSVR 2 playable, which is so exciting. We were part of the launch library around that. In addition to PSVR 2, I'm just trying to think what I missed here. We also are playable on PS5 nowadays. So if you have friends who have not taken the plunge on both pieces of hardware, they've just got the PS5, they can jump in and join you on any platform. We're on Pico headsets nowadays. We're kind of all over the place. It's been great fun to be able to get everyone to come together and play no matter where they are. Crossplay is the best thing in the world, and I'm so glad we get to lean into it.
I think as a whole, they're crushing it.
Yeah, and you guys are split a little 50-50 this weekend. I see a crew here at PAX East, a crew over at GDC. I know you don't have it set up here, but I saw for GDC you guys were testing out Spatial Ops, a new mixed reality game.
I was kind of hoping that the two conventions would not be going on because I was praying it would come here.
Yeah. Well, it looks like there's some savages that are going right from GDC to PAX East.
I saw the people flying in.
But do you mind to tell our listeners a little bit about what Spatial Ops is and kind of the joys of mixed reality?
Yeah, absolutely. I'd be very excited to. And in fact, just as a footnote before we kick it off, if you are a fan of mixed reality or you want to explore that, we do offer it in Demio on Quest now. There is pass-through mode you can flip on, so you can snap the Demio board to any table or any surface in front of you. You are rolling the dice, and they're like bouncing off the table and onto the floor. It's super, super cool. And later this year on Quest devices, on Quest 2 and Quest Pro, we are adding to that. We're expanding our mixed reality presence. We are bringing a hand tracking mode. So you will finally, and I think this has been the most requested thing, you will finally be picking up your miniatures with your hand, physically rolling the dice with your hand. It feels so good. I've had the chance to play it in beta as we're building it slowly but surely. I don't have a date on it yet, but definitely this year it's coming. So very, very exciting. But that being said, you didn't even ask me about Demio, so I should be a better interviewee.
I think plugging Demio is perfect.
Yeah. In fairness, I am not at the Spatial Ops booth in San Francisco. I got to stay in my own time zone this week, so I feel great. But yes, you are absolutely right. At GDC, we are showing off Spatial Ops as well as Demio there. Spatial Ops it's going to get a little complicated. I'm going to try to make it as easy as I can because we're almost at the start of a choose your own adventure right now in this conversation. So, Spatial Ops is two things right now. There is a version of Spatial Ops that launched in open beta on SideQuest in December. It is very cool. It is a little bit like, imagine combining the physical experience of like laser tag or paintball with the digital experience of Counter-Strike or Call of Duty. That's Spatial Ops as it exists in open beta today. Okay, you're running around with 8 of your friends in your home. Your furniture is like accounted for. You're also adding virtual like boxes and things. You're throwing grenades. Right, it is so cool. However, we are at the dawn of mixed reality. Mixed reality is I mean, I don't want to say the future, that's a big stretch, but it's definitely the now. I feel like we are right now in mixed reality where we were in VR in like 2015, right? It's such a cool pioneering moment of what is play going to look like? What sort of fun things are we going to build, right? So we put one thing out in Spatial Ops. People love it, but we have heard from folks, it's really hard to get a bunch of people with headsets together to play this in my home. Or like, I live in a studio apartment. I don't have a ton of space for this. What can we do? So, at GDC, and this is really what I should be spending more time talking about because it's really cool. We have a whole new Spatial Ops prototype that it is only playable at GDC at this point. I do not have further plans I can confirm for you guys, but fingers crossed, hopefully we'll get more folks playing it in some way. It is designed for smaller spaces, smaller groups, 2 folks in the same house. What happens is you create a portal wall on one of your spaces. So I know I'm pointing at a wall that may be off camera right now, but if you were to take this wall, scan the whole thing in, that is now going to become this deep immersive virtual wall that bad guys are in, shooting out from that into your real space. They're throwing grenades at you, you're catching them, throwing them back into the wall. They are running out at you into your living room, and you've got to deal with them, right? It is the coolest thing I have seen in MR yet. In fairness, I work for the company, but it's such a new, unique, emerging space, right? I don't know where Spatial Ops is going to be a year from now, 2 years from now, if we keep playing with this stuff. It's super, super cool. So that's kind of what we are showing at GDC this week. We've heard great feedback from folks on the show floor, the sort of feedback you really want to hear from an experiment like this. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. I was going to ask if I missed anything, Amber, but you haven't been behind me the whole time. No, you're fine. You're fine.
Hey, guys.
Yeah, so in a nutshell, that is Spatial Ops right now. But yeah, I mean, mixed reality in general is just such an exciting spot.
That's awesome. So
I got excited because I know the way that these get done and they're pulled off, it's going to be pretty damn convincing. Well, I would imagine the anxiety level goes up a lot when you got things coming out of your wall.
Yeah. Well, and I can, let's look at where Demio was when the game launched. With one adventure at this point, it's numerous adventures, so many more classes, new items. So
very difficult.
I have a feeling however Spatial Ops launches, in 2 years it's going to be an even better game, So I understand, sometimes it's
resolutions behind it.
Oh
yeah,
my goodness.
I've got no doubts.
Yeah. We still see updates to like bait, when or cookout, that kind of stuff. We still see updates there. So I understand if you can't talk about this, but on the topic of stuff coming, we mentioned Demio, it's yet to be abandoned. Has the books closed? Are adventures done? Have we seen the end of adventures, or can we expect to see more adventures in the coming years?
So the short answer is, we haven't announced anything about upcoming adventures right now. However, Demio is, as a brand, as a property, as something like say Dungeons and Dragons or Warhammer or whatever, we feel really strongly about Demio. We think that there's so much love for this brand, we would be crazy to not do more with it. So what we have coming up this year that I can talk about is Demio Battles. Have you guys heard about Demio Battles?
A little bit. It's like a PvP mode, right?
It is PvP. We are bringing PvP to the Demio universe. So imagine you're still, you're taking all the strategy, all the skill that you've built up playing Demio, right? You are now going head-to-head against another player, or even 2 players, because it's 2-player characters versus 2-player characters is what you're going to see in this game. Okay? You are raising up an army of monsters, and so they are the monsters are going to have their own monster behaviors. They've always had them. You've gotten to know them, right? So you're gonna pick the right monsters. You're gonna go out there with them. You're gonna kick butt. It is in the same way that Demio recreates that 2 to 3 hour game night experience, the cooperative fun of a miniatures board game. Demio Battles. Have you heard of Demio before? My favorite question. Sorry. In the same way it does that for the co-op experience, Demio Battles is more about recreating that 10 to 20 minute miniatures battle game, the head-to-head. I keep comparing the timeline to and the strategy experience to something like Magic the Gathering Arena, but it's a terrible comparison and I need to stop doing it because it is not a card game. It is exactly the Demio experience but just, you've still got the strategy, right? You're still thinking about every turn. It's maybe 10 to 20 minutes each session. It is it could be the game that you play to warm up. Like, while you're waiting for everyone to get online to play Demio, go play battles with a couple of whoever's there already, right? So, likewise, we know there are folks who have been hesitant to play Demio because 3 hours feels like a long commitment to dive into a game. I get it. It's hard. If they want to try the experience now in a shorter session, we're going to have something for them this year. So that is the big thing I'm talking about this year as far as new content goes. But that being said, we're not forgetting mainstream Demio. As we've talked, hand tracking is coming to the Quest platforms, which is really, really exciting. We also, alongside the PlayStation launch that just happened last month, haven't talked about it a lot, but if you look closely, and there's some great comparison videos online, we did kind of do a bit of an up polish on like some of our monster models and things like that. The basement has been renovated, as it were, stuff like that. So, and that has carried over to other versions. It's not just in the PlayStation version, right? So, yeah, we definitely have strong love for the core Demio experience. But that said, like you said, the original story, the Mad Alvin King saga, has formally come to a close after the 5th chapter. But there is no way this is the last of Demio you're seeing. It's too much fun to stop. Honest to God, and I know it sounds like a sales pitch, but Demio is what I do when I'm not working. I genuinely love this game. I think you guys do too, so I know I'm not crazy.
I can't argue this at all.
So something I got to know then before we let you go, because, anybody watching on video can see the booth is packed.
After like the 10-minute mark, I start feeling really bad.
Yeah,
I'm like,
we got computers full. You have Quest headsets in use. You have PSVR 2s in use. So the game's popular. But since you said you use Demio in your free time, I have to know, which class do you use?
Okay, so this is embarrassing because I know that the whole point of Demio is what a great co-op experience it is, and it is. But I play in skirmish mode so much that I actually have, I'm going to give you an answer that is a bit of a cheat because it's more than one class. I'm going to tell you when I play skirmish what my 4-pack is, because I've got my old reliable now that I can clear every time with. You've got to start with the Bard. The Bard is your first pick, the first slot, because you want him buffing the minute you drop, right? That is key. And he's going to buff the Barbarian, which is my second slot every time. I'm going to give a great little pro tip that I probably shouldn't give out, and I'm afraid to say it out loud because I don't want the devs to actually patch it. When you are in the, let's call it waiting room, before you actually step on the door to open the dungeon, you can buff in there. You can buff your characters and then go into the dungeon, so you're going to start a little bit with an advantage. It's kind of nice. Nice little pro tip there.
Yeah.
So yeah, I go into the Barbarian, who I love. I love that the Barbarian has this extra reach. Like, I can cover so much land with the Barbarian. It is infuriating to people, though, when I'm playing co-op, because they want to buff my Barbarian, and I'm like, cool, I'm on the other side of the board already. So good luck catching up to me. You're going to want to really figure out some swiftness potion. I also, my Rocksteady from day one has always been our Hunter. I love the arrow. It is such a quality weapon in terms of reach, and the damage is there. People always want to use strength potions on like the Barbarian or the Guardian. Stick them on your Ranger, man, because yeah, that's when you're really dealing out damage. And then finally, I closed it out with Awana or Warlock, because again, great for ranged attacks. It doesn't feel like it because it's a cat. It's not like the cat has a bow and arrow, but she's safe, right? She's sending out our ass to cat. But yeah, no, Awana's great for that. It also finally gives you another magic user in your party, because the Bard isn't there for its offensive work, really, if we're being real. So when you start getting potions that give you magic buffs and things like that, you want to drop them on Awana. It really, really works out. So yeah, that's my 4-pack. I was not bluffing when I said I played.
No, I was actually going to ask.
Definite pro tips, though.
Yeah, I was going to ask tips, but I think we got that too. I think
we covered that. And I like that he uses the Ranger, because the Ranger is actually always my.
That's your number one.
Almost in any game that has one.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. I always grab it because you know the reach is going to be.
Yep.
Spot on. Yep.
Yeah.
And the perks are definitely good as well.
Yeah. And now if it's just us two playing, we each get to control 2. We can save in between levels, so we can go back to it. Demio's come a long way.
It's a game that keeps on giving, man.
Yeah. So if you're at PAX East this weekend or GDC, definitely check out the Demio
booth. You can claw through your way to get here. Absolutely.
Yeah. Definitely popular. But before we let you go, Jim, anything else you want to say about PAX East, or how's Boston treating you in general?
Boston is one of my favorite cities to visit, and I'll tell you why. And I'm sure you guys are from you're Massachusetts, folks, right?
Western Mass.
Yeah, Western Mass. Yeah. About an hour and a half away.
Okay, so you guys are Boston in the same way I'm Toronto. I get it, 100%. 100%. No, so I feel like Boston has this reputation of like, it's kind of a little rough and tumble, a little this and that. Like, honest to God, the nicest people on the planet are in Boston. I have never And maybe I've just had good luck. I don't know. Maybe I'm just meeting the right folks. Maybe the nicest people on the planet are in Boston, Massachusetts.
Look at that.
That's awesome.
So,
I won't argue that.
yeah, so if you didn't have reason to come to PAX East for next year, now you do. You meet nice
Absolutely.
people. Hopefully we see Resolution here again.
Oh, I'm sure.
And Jim, I'm sure we'll be back at the booth. I'll keep an eye on how things are doing here because
Look to squeeze in sometime.
yeah, I see people walking by. I see the eyes coming through. So good stuff. Thank you for joining us, Jim.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks so much, guys.
And we're back. So yeah, no, great job from Jim Squires on that interview. Man, he was a cool guy to say the least.
I like when you can tell someone believes in what they do. For Reggie trying to lick me.
Yeah,
When they believe in their product, and he's not that any of their team isn't, but listening to him talk, the energy he has for Demio and Resolution Games is legit. There was no act in that at all.
No, I think we easily could have done a whole episode with him of an hour and a half, just picking his brain on all the projects coming up on Resolution Games. Man, Reggie's trying his best to get on the mic today. So after Resolution, we obviously did our rounds around PAX. We kind of like, we got the dust off us. All right, now we're feeling good. But we had to go check out Peaky Blinders. The Mazy Theory is the developers of Peaky Blinders, but they didn't really advertise their developer name too much there. They were pushing the Peaky Blinders VR aspect. And if you didn't listen to Monday's episode, man, they crushed it with their booth. So luckily, we got to talk with Russ Harding, who's the chief creative officer for Mazy Theory, the developers of Peaky Blinders VR. Authentic accent to go with the show and the game as well. And man, he was another bundle of fun in this interview. So stay tuned for that, or listen now to that, and then we'll be back with you in just a moment.
And we're here at PAX East with Russ behind Peaky Blinders VR.
Dude, I am so excited for this.
Oh my goodness.
No idea.
Yeah, you've been loving it. You've been cracking away at it maybe 2 or 3 days now. Mm-hmm. The voice acting in it, amazing.
Dude, I will say everything that I've seen so far has exceeded my expectations.
Well,
looking from the busyness of their booth, I think it's getting a good amount of attention.
Yeah, it's looked like people nonstop checking out Peaky Blinders, so this is awesome. But before we get too carried away, Russ, do you mind to introduce yourself a little bit for our listeners? And also, if somehow they've missed Peaky Blinders, the TV show, do you mind telling them a little bit about what you have going on with your game?
Yeah, sure. So I'm Russ. I'm the Chief Creative Officer at Mazy Theory. So I started up the concept, I guess, for the game, Peaky Blinders, and pitched it to the TV company. The Peaky Blinders is set in the 1920s. It's actually set in 1928 in post-war one Britain. It's set in a world that was created by Stephen Knight in the gritty streets of Birmingham. It's about a family of brothers that returned from the war. A lot of them suffering from shell shock and probably from the outfallings of war. There's a lot of poverty around that time, but there's a leader within their family called Tommy, who's determined to sort of like rise the family to the top. And he operates in shades of grey. He's like, he's neither a good or a bad guy. He's just kind of like a bit grey. So we met him in 1928 when actually he's worked himself up into the role of being actually established as a politician, which is kind of crazy. And the family are at their sort of like height of running their own gin distillery business. I believe that they're sending gin to America actually at the time. So we pick up the story there. We introduce you as a character into the world. Your character Sam, you knew the boys growing up, but you're a deserter from the war actually. Tommy doesn't really like those as a character himself, but you are a friend of the family, so they give you a second chance to kind of gain some redemption, but they send you on your way to go off and do a job for them.
Ooh, they got me sold on that right away. And so it sounds like that this is going to be something that fans of the show, with recurring characters and stuff, they're going to have some appreciation. For people who have never seen the show, since it's introducing a new character that you play as, do you think that it's something that, for people who have never seen the show, they're going to be able to hop in without an issue?
Absolutely. So we very deliberately designed the flow of the game so that you don't have to have any prior knowledge to the show at all. So it's really about I think, you know, Tommy's an archetype of a gangster, so I think you recognise he's the gang boss as soon as you meet him, and I think you pretty much feel like you should be doing what he tells you. So I don't, you know, if you have watched the show, there's like lots of depth there for you. If you haven't, it's like it's a sort of action adventure really in the gangster's world. So, and I think we all like those. So,
I will say the scenery, the sound score, the voice acting was, I mean, right on the money. I felt right before we went on, I was saying I was curious like how it would compare to some of what I've seen in the show, and just the opening credits of the game just brought me right to that feeling, which obviously it's not all sparkling clean, very industrial, steel making. Oh yeah, the feel is like, you can almost smell the environment that you're in. But with the voice acting, was it hard to get that many? I mean, it's all quality voice acting.
Yeah. So Cillian Murphy plays Tommy Shelby, as he does in the show, and that was amazing to get the opportunity to work with Cillian. And you know, obviously he's been playing Tommy Shelby now for 10 years. So of course, when we're going through the scripts with him, he was just like adding to it and changing it, and obviously knows that character inside out. And then Arthur's such an animated character in the show. We worked with Paul Anderson and we did a lot of mocap with him because we just really wanted to bring him to life because he's such a big character. But yeah, we were really lucky to get to work with the talent.
Yeah, one of the things that stands out is a lot of, when games seem to go from like, let's say superhero games to video games, they can't get any of the actors that actually worked. And you can instantly tell, because I was listening, I was like, that has to be the same actor.
Or he's damn good.
Oh, dude, it was, so it just made me feel good when somebody is, you know, humble enough that even though they're a celebrity, don't have to do video game voiceover, but it seems like you don't hear it in his voice like it was a challenge to actually get him to do it.
No, not at all. I mean, I think, you know, the thing about the King's Ransom is it is authentically a part of the story, another story within the lore of Peaky. So we generally work with the showrunners and Stephen Knight in writing the actual the game itself, to make sure that it fitted in the lore. We developed new characters with Stephen and the team because we wanted to introduce those new characters in the way that he does every season. And you know, he's so great at also introducing characters, and you think, God, I know that character, or that character's part of the family, and they're completely new. But he seems to be able to embed them, and he helped us sort of like develop Rowena, who's a brand new character, and Lily, and a new gang as well. So,
well, I'll say this from first-hand experience, I felt like I was being tested part of the family, but I felt like I'm becoming part of the family.
That's awesome. And so you pitched the game to the studio. So how long has the game been in development for? From idea in your brain, you know, maybe you're at home watching Peaky Blinders, or however it came to your mind, you know, how long did it take to get to today?
It's probably just over 3 years because, you know, I think, of course, you initially pitch in the game and then you start developing out the concept. But we also wanted to work with the show talent. And of course, we had to be able to fit in with schedules, and COVID came along as well. So it was, you know, it's been quite a long development time. But we are actually a really small team. So there are only, I think, around 30 within the team itself that have been working on Peaky. And obviously, to begin with, we're much smaller than that. So yeah, it's been a long journey, but we've been really lucky that the team are amazingly committed to it, and they work non-stop on it with a lot of passion. Sure.
Oh, I would just say if anybody hasn't tried it and they try it, they'll see the passion. You can't. I'm a sucker for light detail and dust in the air and good ambient music and good sounds, and everything to me is synced up really well. The story thus far for me is good. It makes me want to keep going with it. Inevitably, I'm sure I'm going to hit an end, which will lead me to the most loaded question. Will there be more for Peaky Blinders in the future?
So we are going to continue to update the game over the year. We're going to offer more opportunities for people to go into Small Heath and play around in those areas as a Peaky Blinder. So yeah, we're hoping to keep the audience entertained over the next year.
That's huge. That's huge news.
Yeah, and this is a big title, Peaky Blinders. It's one of the most popular Netflix shows. People love it. So how did this idea come to you? I kind of joked earlier. Were you watching TV at home? You see
I'm
Peaky
gonna make a game.
You know what? How did this come from, to creation?
So we'd worked on a Doctor Who game. So we just done a Doctor Who VR game, The Edge of Reality, Edge of Time, and we were thinking about what we wanted to do next. I'd worked on VR titles before at PlayStation, and I'd worked on a game there called The London Heist that was one of the demos. Really keen on trying to explore something in the gangster genre, and we really loved Peaky Blinders, and we just felt the world aesthetic was very mazed in the very detailed. There's a lot of storytelling in the environment, which we're really, really keen on. And it meant that we had to deal with characters in VR, which people don't really like to do. So we thought we'd do lots of hard things next. That's what we thought.
I think it was when we had first heard that there was going to be a Peaky Blinders game, I'm like, this is an ambitious undertaking. I saw so many areas where it could fall because I know the fan base for the show is huge. I'm not hearing a lot of scuttle from people who like the show, who played the game, that are like, it's not good.
No, it seems
They're
like nothing
probably
but
the
good.
silentest ones. Yeah. So I think really everybody on that team, a team of 30, putting out a game like that in 3 years, especially during worldwide times that make it even more difficult, I just think your whole team really did a really good job with this one.
And they really, really worked hard. They've really pushed the technology. The art team have been, amazing. The fact that you've even got a dust particle running on a Quest headset, and we got characters and animation and some VFX and light shaders, and so they've really, really pushed the platform as hard as they can. But it was really something we felt passionate about. The world is. It's a really detailed world, and we wanted people to be able to explore it. So we wanted to make everything interactable as well, which really, threw loads of technical challenges at people, of course. But
It's still a mobile processing chip in the end, too.
Yeah,
so,
but honestly, you won't know it when you're playing it. It's one of those. I think we had talked right after I had gotten it, and I was like, the graphics. It's already the first thing that stuck into my head. I'm like, these are amazing graphics.
Something I love to see is that, you had the opportunity for licensing, to make something like Peaky Blinders, and you went with the risky route, which I love because it's my favorite route as well, the route of VR. So, you said that you had some prior experiences with VR before, but still it's a gamble, and I love to see that, you had the opportunity with the license, and you said, you know what, I trust it with VR, and hopefully the reception makes it worth it,
Yeah. I think it's just being able to place people in that authentic world, and it's such an imaginative place to be. It just felt like a natural fit for VR in our minds anyway, that you want to be in the world. If you look at Peaky, it's stimulated lots of, like lifestyles, haircuts, fashion. So it's a thing that people want to fully partake in and actually be immersed in. So we felt it was quite natural to be a VR title.
No, I agree with that. If anything good about game adaptations of movies is being able to immerse yourself and feel like you're a part of the movie or one of the characters. And I don't think there's a better medium for that than VR. So.
For that total experience, no.
God, no. So, we referenced it at the start of the interview. If anybody's here at PAX East, they're seeing the Peaky Blinders booth slam. There's people always checking it out. Whole crowd in front. So I think we've stolen you a little bit over, about 10, 15 minutes now with the interview, Before I wrap things up, overall, what's your thoughts on PAX? You just came from GDC, so going from California, how's Boston treating you? What do you think of the convention so far this year?
I think it's great. I think it's great to see, so many people, so many different titles, so many indies. I love the indie area and some of the new games that, people bring to the table. I love the atmosphere and all the fans, and it's quite a different vibe from GDC. GDC is very, very, very developer driven, and it's like lots of talks about making games. Here it's about people enjoying a game and playing the game. So yeah, it's great, love it.
That's awesome. And before I wrap it up real quick, I know you loved Peaky Blinders. You're loving the show. You're loving the game. So before I cut the interview out, is there anything you wanted to ask Russ while we have him here?
No, I just wanted to get that feel of the working with the actual actors who work in the show to do voices. I knew it happened, but to know that it happily happened, I'll say, or willingly happened, but I don't think everyone in acting world would necessarily lead their voice to it. I mean, they wouldn't have to, but to me, it just nailed the authenticity. Like I said, the only thing missing is the smell of steel, maybe the smell of coal in
some
the air.
gunpowder.
But I'm sure we'll find someone with a smell VR device in this show. There will be someone. There always is.
So it's fantastic. But I can't thank you enough for usually we try to grab someone for an hour. Conferences, we can't do that. We know
be in for 10, 15 minutes. That's perfect.
Oh yeah, the booth slamming, the place is popping. So again, thank you so much.
And if anybody hasn't checked it out yet, on Pico, on MetaQuest, Peaky Blinders VR, available now. So check that out.
So man, so far 2 for 2 with great interviews. Both Jim Squires and Russ Harding, 2 passionate individuals in their game. That's another example. Like I wanted to go hop into Peaky Blinders, and I have a feeling that any future projects for Mazy Theory is going to be of that same high quality in terms of like graphics and stuff like that. And he did you referenced a game with Doctor Who before. I never checked that out, but clearly, just like Lucas Martel, that's somebody who understands how to do licensing. Douglas Neighbors with Fun Train, that, getting those licensing is definitely its own skill. So it seems like Mazy Theory is lucky to have Russ on board in that regard too, right?
No, I definitely want to get him on the actual podcast with no background sound and no masks needed, because there's so much more I wanted to talk about. But when you're limited to, you don't want to steal somebody from their booth for an hour. So it's like we really tried to limit to like 15 minutes, maybe 20 minutes if we didn't get carried away. But it leaves so much more with everyone we talk to. So pretty much with every interview we did, it's like I'd really like to get them back.
Yeah, for a full episode.
I'll say more our terms of, how to do an interview, because you got the amount of people around and everything. It's like you can't get into everything in 10 or 15 minutes. But he was cool. He was really cool.
Mm-hmm. So like I said, 2 for 2, Jim Squires and Russ Harding, 2 passionate individuals that I could easily listen to them talk about their games and just overall their passion with VR for much longer than we did, and hopefully we will. But great stuff on the floor of PAX. After swinging around to Peaky Blinders, next we sat down with the Studio 217, the developers of Pin City, which, no spoilers on this interview. I gave a little bit on Monday. We already said, too, that they were, nonetheless. So just stay tuned for this, listen to that, and then we'll be back with you in just a moment with kind of our thoughts on that now that you guys have heard it.
And we're here live at PAX East, joined with Karen and Cole, the developers of Pin City. The studio name is Studio 217, right?
217.
Gotta have a 1,000 questions about that, right off the top.
Yeah, the minute I heard Studio 217, I had questions.
I said, there's a story there somewhere. There's a college dorm. There's something that led to that. But before we got to...
PAX is still banging. I mean, we were blessed enough that they were able to sneak away. It looked like they had to call in a small army to man their area.
Yeah.
But it seems like anything VR today is popping.
Yep.
So
Pin City's booth, Peaky Blinders, Resolutions with Demio, anything that has the VR headset, I'm seeing
I'm convinced
nonstop.
At this point, you put a VR headset and you only have flat screen, they're still going to show up to your booth. But in this case, we have actual VR developers.
Yes, like I said, we have Karen and Cole, the developers of Pin City. So before we get too carried away, as you can tell, we talk a lot. So do you mind to introduce yourself for our listeners? Kind of tell them a little bit about who you two are and also the games you guys make with Studio 217.
Sure, so I'm Karen. We're just one of the co-founders. We do a little bit of everything each. So yeah, I'm Karen.
I'm Cole. I'm also a co-founder. We're the only co-founders in the studio.
So is it safe to say it's a studio of 2?
Yes.
Okay.
Very accurate. Yeah, very accurate. Yeah.
And we were talking we will get into Pin City, but this isn't your first VR game either, right? I think you guys were saying that you had worked on a game that was in preparation for the DK2. So you guys are OGs, but what's your history in the world of VR?
Yeah, I mean, we started out in college. Our thesis project was in VR. It was with the DK2, with Elite Motion, and now it's the game called Mr. Mart. So we graduated and then pushed that game forward and released it. And then we saw how far we could go with it. And that was about 2016, 2017, 2018 era. Then all the tech upgraded and we decided, we should let this game rest. It's got too much history, too much legacy. It's a little messy of a project. It was our first real project. So a lot of mistakes were in there. And, with the tech being better, we wanted to focus on a more skill-driven game that was still silly and still had the bright colors and the goofiness that our first game had. And that's how we ended up with Pin City.
Yeah, I think a little bit of mistakes and errors is an understatement. That game, it taking that game through basically every version of the Oculus Oculus headset that exists is a bit of a nightmare, and also all the versions of Unity. I think we started in Unity 4, and going through Leap Motion, all that stuff. So we learned a lot with that system, and we're much better developers now in terms of organization and just keeping track of everything and stuff. So we learned a lot, but it was a lot of fun too.
And I think I heard you say thesis, right? So was this a college project that has expanded and taken over from there?
So we we worked together for a thesis. We went to MICA, Maryland Institute College of Art, and so we were in the interactive arts major. And so for our thesis project, we developed the first version of Mr. Mart, which then we took to Indiecade, actually, and people kept asking us, what's your Twitter handle? What's your studio and stuff? And we were like, we don't have a studio. We were just working together. And then we were like, should we have a studio? And then, yeah.
So that leads to the $1 million question that we were joking about before. Studio 217. What's the name behind that?
217 is the number of the room of our studio for our major. Each major at the school had designated work areas, and ours was room 217, and we spent a lot of hours there, and a lot of very late nights, and on the cold concrete floors.
Yeah, I had instantly went to college dorm or something like that.
I was trying to figure it out. I'm like, I thought it would just be an address to somewhere, not necessarily a throw to the school where you got. So you went to school for programming, or was it for something else?
So MICA is a fine arts school. So we did take some with a design program. So interactive arts is focusing on, or at least as it existed then, it's gone through a lot of changes. As it existed then, was focused on any sort of interactive art. So that included video games, but that also included robotics and tabletop games, exhibits, any sort of more experimental stuff. So it was very self-driven at the time. We had some classes in Unity, but we taught a lot of that ourselves. And it's the same way after college. It's just all self, just going through, teaching ourselves, learning from the internet, learning from other people. Yeah.
I would say, we even started making 2D Flash games with Hex Flixel.
Oh yeah.
And that's really how we started. The program really started with board games, and that was our first Gameplay 1 class. What makes a game fun? We're gonna start with cards, literally a deck of cards. Make something fun with that, or make tic-tac-toe better, or make war better, and really starting with concepts, and then going into 2D games with Flash and something a little bit more simpler, and then eventually going into 3D and experimenting with alternative controllers with Arduinos or VR or really exploratory. You could explore a lot in that class. Yeah.
So although you are both college educated, the bulk of all this coming together was really self-taught?
I'd say the bulk of the technological side was pretty self-taught, but we did have a lot of really good teachers.
Yeah.
There were some dedicated teachers who we're still in contact with, some of them, that helped us with the tech side a lot. But I think the most important part was the conceptual aspects of game design, interaction, what makes things fun, and also critique, learning how to take feedback on a game. If people don't find it fun, don't get sad. They're not being mean, they're being honest. Who are you making the game for if not for people?
Yeah.
You want people to have fun.
I think that's a great. That's an area that I don't think is actually discussed enough. It's one thing to come out and make a game, but we see a lot of struggles that developers will have with feeling obligated to engage in the discussions of their game when it's not positive, and then it can get very passionate, as opposed to turning it over to a community manager and stepping aside from we'll say the social aspect. So it's actually good that they would teach how to deal with the negativity that could come, even if it is a good product. So that's pretty huge.
And what I love to see is, I mean, based off the time you guys were going to school, VR isn't as established as it is in 2023, which, still has a long way to go, but we've sold 20 million headsets with the Quest 2. It's a little different than in 2016. So, huge props to you for seeing a new avenue like VR and saying, full steam ahead on this one. And your philosophy on reworking classic games like War, how can we make tic-tac-toe better? I was watching some footage of your game Pin City, which, we'll get a little bit more into that, and it seems like that same concept. I saw your typical bowling game, but I saw some wonky elements too, I didn't quite understand what led to it, but it looked like somebody bowled and they went through almost like a slide, and they kind of zigzagged around and then hit the pin, so it's your standard game of bowling, but it sounds like that same thing you did with your previous things, card games, board games, of taking a classic game and making it even better. So kind of on that, do you two want to kind of talk a little bit about what the game you guys are showing today is, Pin City?
Yeah, it is Pin City, and it's just like literally just VR bowling with the spirit of mini golf. That is the tagline. It's easy to understand, easy to comprehend. We do enjoy bowling. We're not pros at it, but we love hearing from pros who play our game. Right now it's it's not released. It's in alpha. We do have a demo up on Steam. We're really just looking for more traction of people to play it and more interest and getting more feedback, right? Like we do have a forum up with asking like specific questions about like favorite levels and like what did you hate? Like we want to know all that kind of stuff. So today we have 8 demo levels set up. It's not the structure that the full game will be, but it's a little bit faster for the crowd at PAX East. Yeah.
And I just want to say more like in terms of like bringing the bowling to a different area. It's like it's like such a fun, simple concept. Like we like bowling, and there already are bowling VR games that are good and like well done and like capture bowling pretty well. But like if I leave the area of the bowling lane in those games, I can't really do anything. And if the game doesn't want me to throw overhand, the game doesn't want me to like bowl sideways into the wall and like crap like that. Like we want to just like explore the possibilities of the space of VR. Like really try to take advantage of VR as a medium instead of just making just a normal bowling game.
Well, from what I have seen and just watching the demo that you guys have today, the potential for, maybe in the future it'll be but the potential for a good social experience in VR seems to have it right on the money. Mm-hmm. It almost gave me a little bit of that walkabout vibe where for VR.
Yeah, any of the social highlights, the games that really...
But it's definitely bowling taken to the next level.
Yeah, and what's their...
Oh,
sorry, no, keep going.
I was curious I played a lot of VR bowling experiences. There's been struggles with the physics, with the ball releasing. I see you shaking your head. How are you able to overcome some of those obstacles that clearly other people have still
struggled with?
Are still struggling and making better as they continue their game?
Well, I won't say we've totally overcome these issues either.
Well, I would say also because our game is not meant to be a simulation, we have the frame, we give the game as a frame of something silly. Like we know we're not going to make the perfect physics setup. We're going to try to implement some sort of spin mechanic, but it's not going to be as perfect as real life. You're not holding a real ball. You're not holding it in that form or however form like a pro might hold it. Like we cannot replicate that. I mean, with controllers or even with hand tracking, like that stuff's it's always going to be finicky. And so that's why we kind of always lended ourselves to more silly games, more chaotic, and really focus on the level design and just getting the player feel to be like just good enough to be enjoyable and not distracting from what we're trying to focus on. So like last year, a lot of people were saying like the ball is too light, like it's just way too light. I'm like, you're holding a controller, but let me see what we can do to help with like the psychology of it. How can we make the ball feel a little bit heavier? And this year we came back with an update that let you choose like between 3 weights of the ball, one being light, medium, and heavy. Yeah, weights. But when you throw them and release, they do behave a little differently. And we found that a lot of people are using the heaviest ball that we have as an option, and that not many people are really complaining about it. And so we're almost at a point of like, oh, well, maybe now is the time we can add a little bit more spin. Maybe we could do different options of like maybe now this heavy ball is the new light ball, and like let people really experiment with what we give them. Yeah.
Is there an expectation of how many different, I don't want to say levels because they're not, but how many different bowling lanes per se or experiences you're going to have?
So we have been calling them levels, so you're fine. So the current structure, we're separating the levels. The levels are going to be 3 frames each, just to give people a little bit of a chance to experience the gimmick of the level and like understand it, but not too long to get like bogged down into a whole repetitiveness of it. We want it to still be fast paced. We're aiming for somewhere between like 50 to 80 levels, separated into like theme chunks of like themes based, chapters, separated by like themes. The themes are going to be like mechanic based, so they'll be like, we have like topology as one theme, and we've got like obstacles and other things like separated out into those sort of sections, and like we'll mix them together sometimes and hopefully have a nice flow of complexity and difficulty throughout the game.
That is a huge amount of levels.
I'm sure
I was actually
much more
in my
than
head,
you were
I'm like,
expecting.
12, 15 would probably be a lot to keep you busy, but that is an aggressive amount.
And
which certainly will keep VR gamers quite occupied. You're not going to speed run through obviously every single bowling level.
No, and obviously the game is still, you were kind of referencing there's still more to do. The game's not ready to be released today, but do you guys have an estimate of, when you would like to see the game, I guess, say, finally released,
For sale?
Yeah.
Oh man, that's a really hard question for us. Like, ideally 1 year, but like that is really hopeful, right? Like, probably 2 minimum. To be really honest, I mean, this is honestly like our part-time thing. Like, we both have full-time jobs, and this is our passion project. Like, I'm literally on PTO to be here in Boston today, right? And I think I forgot to mention we're from Baltimore, Maryland, so like we had to travel quite a bit to get here and set up. So I would say like 2 years. Long answer.
Yeah, what you said.
No, 2 years.
2 years is a magic number, I think, in VR for putting out with the smaller studios. We've heard the larger studios can aggressively do it in a year, but 2 years is not.
Well, personally, to me, I hear that and I go, well, they have their head on right, because they're not trying to rush out a product just to say, oh, we need to get it out ASAP. You're being realistic about, hey, this amount of time we have in our day to dedicate to it. They're probably going to take 2 years. I'd rather hear that than say, oh, we're going to do our best for 6 months, but probably be buggy. No, it's take the
for
time.
A year and a half.
I think the industry's only going to keep to grow. So I mean, come on. But in the meantime, in these next 2 years, if any of our listeners, anybody watching on video, they see this, they hear this, they want to check out Pin City maybe a little bit earlier than before the public release. I think you're referencing that you guys have a Discord community or something like that for people to hop on. If somebody wants to check it out, how are they able to?
Yeah, we got a Discord. If you follow our usual socials, we have a Discord link up there. I will be honest with you, it's a pretty quiet Discord, and because it's just us two, and we don't have a community manager. But it's really just to have all of our fans come together, can get all the updates that they want in one place. So it's not like going through Twitter drama or like Facebook drama, things like that. So Discord's the place to be to get the alpha access, because right now we're on App Lab, but only for alpha channel. So I need emails for people to want to sign up. But you can go on Steam, look up Pin City. We did just release the demo up there, and both versions are pretty dang close, like almost identical. I will say they weren't built at the same night, but they're both out there. So it's built on OpenXR, so we can support the Quest 2. If you've got PC VR set up with Steam, so you can play with Vive, Index, your WMR headsets, what have you. So, and if it doesn't work, please yell at us. We'll try to fix it as soon as possible.
No, don't yell at them. Don't yell at them. It's making me sad in a way when I see
young, eager developers who are doing everything really the right way, but are still forced to not be able to do it in that full-time capacity.
Well, let's see after this release, you know?
Well,
let's see
that's
where
what I'm
this goes.
hoping, because we've seen many, it started as 2, and today there's 7 or 8, even 12.
Yep.
Where are you finding the time, and how much time are you able to actually invest in this project?
We stay up late and forego other things.
Yeah. I also feel like we have like seasons of like development for us, like for like our personal like mental health sake. Like we tend to have, you know, PAX East we love, so we tend to come here as much as we can. MagFest is a really good one down in DC. That's like really where we started, like that Baltimore DC area. So we have a lot of part to owe to MagFest. We try to go there too. So these are like 2 mainstay conventions. We always try to have something new at these conventions. So when we kind of work around these deadlines, that helps drive us to get more updates done, as well as like the community asking us for things. But I will say, like, once PAX is done, we kind of go into like a slumber mode to like rest, and you know, we write down all the feedback, and then we come back with fresh eyes, and then we start to ramp up that workload again, and get more productive as the year goes on, the calendar year. So.
I think a good story for last PAX is I had some free time before last PAX, and so I just churned out a bunch of levels, just like sort of brainstorming them, and then Karen played them and was like, Cole, none of these levels are good. And I put the headset on and I tried it, and I was like, Karen, you're right. And this was like a week before PAX. So then we just sat down and we're just like, okay, we need like 8 levels, that'll be good. And we just did the design work in one night and like got it done and finished it out, and we got some really good levels out of that.
Well, that goes back to the brutal honesty, like being able to take it. You know, if you weren't brutally honest and you couldn't take it, you would have been going to the convention with bad levels. But being able to accurately react to the feedback, it's like, no, that's not, you know, being mean, it's being honest. And
It's
you,
just
boom,
honest.
you know, kick it into overdrive and get out a good product. I love to hear that.
So, is the end game for both of you, prying into your professional life again, is the end game for both of you, no pun intended, full-time studio, full-time game development, or do you think it's always going to be more of like a passion project?
Well, we definitely are wary of going full-time. Like, we like the comfort and the security of having like day jobs and stuff. But I think both of us would probably be happier if we were able to just be doing our own work full-time. But we also are wary of keeping creative control over our projects, because we're artists and like we like to keep it from our hearts and not from like profit, you know.
Yeah.
But like that's such an idyllic viewpoint. You know, we're in like a good place right now. It's exhausting, but it's also like really rewarding because we get to come to PAX and show off and make people happy and stuff. So ideally, yes, but we're also pragmatists.
You're very cautious, I would say. Very, very cautious.
I think that's a safe way to be, but then if it happens,
It's even better.
Yeah, even better.
Yeah.
You weren't even really asking for it, or
And what I've noticed is the games that aren't chasing money end up being the best games. So that mentality, it's like, I think you're going to end up with a damn good product, and then you end up selling more games. You make more money than
again.
if
From what I've seen, it looks like this has a lot of potential for fun.
Like we said, the booth is a hit. There's always a line, so we know we're stealing.
Oh, we keep walking by all day, and we're pushed to the back wall just to kind of see what's going on in there.
Yeah, so before we wrap things up, before we let you get back to the booth, do you want to let our listeners know one more time, you know, where they can find you guys on social media, and then Stratus, if there's anything else you want to ask after too?
So our website is studio217games.com, and our Twitter is @studio_217, and you can get to our Discord. I think we have links to our Discord on both of those places, and Discord is really the best way to reach us. You can DM us, you can hang out. Sometimes I'll say when we're working. I think I did that once so far, but that was fun because I got some feedback, people telling me about things that were bugs, and I was able to fix them at the same time. So if you reach out, we do respond. We're just bad at social media. We're developers, we're not social media people.
So
That's a real honest answer.
I love it. But you know, nonetheless, we're joined with again Cole and Karen of Studio
Can't thank you enough.
217.
Sorry to pull you out of your booth.
we're sitting on the floor, as people can probably figure. We're not sitting in comfy seats.
Yeah.
But sometimes it just feels good to get off the feet all day, you know?
Yeah. But no, thank you two again for joining us, and go crush it at your booth for the rest of the show. That was awesome.
So yeah, dude, 2 years away for this game.
Mm-hmm. And I like the relationship they have of knowing each other for as long as they have.
Mm-hmm.
I'm saddened by the fact that they both have, full-time jobs and such while they're doing their project. Yeah, we even told them, it might have not even been on the interview, that, it's going to be full-time for you.
Mm-hmm.
But they seem pretty realistic and understanding of the steps they have to take and where they're at now and where they were. But they're one that I want to keep an eye on. And again, I'll say it like a broken record. Would love to have them come on. Maybe not, anytime soon. Maybe in a year, when theoretically their game might be a year out. Maybe it'll even be sooner by then. But the fact that they're making a game, and let's be honest, you want to book space at any of these conventions as a developer or a vendor at, selling T-shirts, whatever. It's not cheap. It is alarming what you'll pay at a convention to have a booth. And it's like, they got no real money coming in per se from a game that's 2 years out, but they have to put it out there for the world to see, or else there'll be no interest when it comes out. So it's like, part of the game hustle isn't, no two companies are the same, and no two companies get their game out. I'm sure if Resolution wants to make a game, it's a little easier for them now, as they're not a team of two.
Yeah, I'm sure if they were full-time, it wouldn't take 2 years more of work either,
Yeah,
but
exactly.
That's the hustle,
So it's cool to see that, but also, like, I guess humbling in a sense, because, I don't want to say I feel bad. It just, it made me a little bummed inside that, like, wow, it's like, why can't two people who are, seemingly good at what they're doing and have a really impressive end game, why can't they do it full time? Shouldn't they be allowed to, But that's reality. And I've just always been a believer that whatever you're good at or you have the most fun at, you should be able to do for your choice for the rest of your life. Not be like I'm a wicked talented developer, but I work customer service 9 to 5,
Well, what I'll say though is, talking to them, it didn't look like that they felt bad for themselves that they're not
don't.
full time.
They don't.
They actually seem to enjoy the independent aspect, that they don't have strings attached and things like that.
But I'm sure if they had the ability, it's like,
they would.
Let me take away that 9 to 5, and you can actually focus on what you want to do more than anything. But it's cool.
And what I love to see from them too, it's 2 years away, according to them. That's what they were kind of giving as a no guarantee to 2 years. Maybe it's longer, maybe less, but that was just off the top of their head what they're anticipating. For a game that's 2 years away, dude, we said it on Monday, their booth crushed it. People seem to love the game. There's a lot of people trying it out.
They had a decent playable demo.
Yeah.
With a couple of different lanes. And they're not traditional, obviously, not traditional bowling lanes. Maybe one.
No.
But then from there, it takes on that. I'll say if Walkabout made a bowling game, it's probably pretty close to this.
Yeah. Not that same pixelated graphics, but
hey, maybe
vibe.
Walkabout pick up the game and finish it for him and get it out next month.
But, nonetheless, so Pin City was a great interview as well. Well, Studio 217, but their game Pin City, I'm excited to see that
I
full
put their
release.
sticker right on the laptop this morning.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, they did good with that. And then, swag was awesome. Like I said, we got the Peaky Blinders hat. I'm rocking a Demio shirt right now, some stickers. So that's always fun stuff. I'm a sucker for some good swag.
And we get the Pin City, an actual Pin City pin.
Come on, which pins are, just like Disneyland, pins at PAX are its own entity. They had like trading grounds for them and everything. Pins are, if you're a pinhead, if you love pins.
Yeah, and they're good. They're good pins. They're the die cast. Got some weight to it.
Yeah, it's its own little niche.
Two protective backings on the one I got.
So we had two more interviews. The second to last one we did was with Will, the communications director for Steel City Interactive, the developers of upcoming game Undisputed Boxing,
which is flat screen
game. This is our one.
Couldn't resist.
Yeah, I'm sorry. This is me selfish. I've been watching this game for years. I've always loved the UFC, MMA games. I've always loved Fight Night Champion, really good boxing games. Fight Night Champion came out like 10 years ago. I'll still play it flat screen because it's the last good boxing game. And overall, for a combat sport game, MMA, UFC, whatever, one of the best career modes too. So So to say that I have been eyeing Undisputed Boxing is an understatement. I remember when it was first announced, maybe, a little bit pre-pandemic, it was announced as Esports Boxing Club, and then they blew up. I don't think that they were anticipating the world to want a boxing game as badly as they did. And so I had to go check this out. I saw a playable demo. We got the time to talk with Will, play the game, take a picture with the title. We saw Mickey Ward in their booth, so couldn't resist this one. So hope you all enjoy, and we'll be back with you in just a moment.
And we are here at PAX, stepping a little bit outside of our niche of VR.
We had to, though.
I had to.
We had to. When you saw this and you knew it was going to be here, that's all I've heard from you is the ass kicking I'm going to be taking.
Yeah, we're joined today with Will, the communications director for Steel City Interactive, the developers behind Undisputed Boxing.
Something you've been watching very closely for years.
For years. At one point it was called ESBC, Esports Boxing Club. The game grew, I think, a lot more than they were anticipating, at least as a fan side of things.
I had a great time playing it. I don't mean to cut you off, but even though I got my butt kicked,
it was
I
close.
had a really good time.
It was close, but Will, before we get right into it, do you mind to tell our listeners a little bit, who you are, what you do for Steel City, and also a little bit about Undisputed Boxing?
Yeah, so I'm the communications director at SCI, and basically it means I talk about the game. We've been in development about 3 years now. It started out as a passion project from three brothers who recognize it's been over a decade since there's been a really big licensed boxing video game. So we thought we'd take a crack at it and see how far we could get, and got pretty far so far.
I'd say, how big is the roster at this point?
Yeah, so right now we're in early access, just over a month now, and our early access roster is right around 60 fighters. So it's already more licensed fighters than have ever been in a boxing game. I think for our part, that's really due to the boxing community embracing us, right? Just like we're waiting for a game, and like you guys, have been interested in playing a boxing game, the boxing world wants one too, right? It's been so long, and we really want to be able to do it justice and bring boxing back to the gaming space.
And it's got a good mix of top current fighters like Canelo Alvarez, but then you also have the legends like Muhammad Ali.
Sugar Ray Leonard.
Yeah, Sugar Ray. You guys fought Sugar Ray Leonard and Arturo Gatti. Pretty good matchup.
I don't know if it went how it would in real life.
I did not do Sugar Ray justice at all.
But yeah, we've got a license, a roster of fighters. Like I said, 60 in early access. We have current fighters. We have legends. We also have a women's division for like the first time in about 20 years, a women's division in a boxing game. We're trying to make a faithful recreation.
I get to channel my inner Holly Holm now, so that's awesome. So you said the team started with 3 people, but how big is it now?
We're a little over 30 people now, so we're making some progress. Yeah,
definitely. 3 to 30 is times 10. So
but I'm looking at what isn't even a finished product today, and it's phenomenal. Yep. Like if I had that in my hands today, I wouldn't be disappointed about it. I do have a question about the licensing. With that many, we'll say, personalities and professionals going on, was it difficult to get everybody on board for it, or was the consensus this is going to be good for boxing overall, so it was easier to get those fighters?
Yeah, we definitely, it feels like we had to earn it, right? I think, early on, that was a challenge. And a lot of it started with the local boxing community. We had people like Ryan Rhodes, a fighter who had a great career and shared a ring at one time with Canelo Alvarez. And he's somebody that stepped in early on to help us build some of those relationships. A couple of years ago, we brought in Todd Grisham, who does commentary on DAZN and is our commentator in the game. And him and a few other folks from the boxing world have really been instrumental in helping us sign the fighters, because we do have to sign them all individually. It's a lot of work, but overall, I think collectively, it feels like the boxing community has embraced us. They get it. They want to see a boxing game. It's good for the sport. It's good for gamers, and so here we are.
That's awesome.
That's huge. I wouldn't have thought there would have been too much pushback, because the more exposure for the sport, the better it's going to be for everybody. But no, that's huge.
I'm sure there's a lot of boxers too that, same thing that you've been saying as a fan. It's been 10 years since a good licensed boxing game. I'm sure there's a boxer out there with a big name going, I wish I was in a freaking video game. Why doesn't it exist,
Yeah. Well, let's be honest. Who wouldn't really want to be in a video game? So I would hope the pushback wouldn't be too deep.
Yeah, absolutely. And, right now the game's available on beta on Steam, correct?
Yeah, it's on available for purchase on Steam Early Access. We don't have a full ship date yet. We are working toward a release that includes console, PlayStation 5, Xbox Series S and X. And in the meantime, we're taking feedback from players who are playing the game. We're going to be shipping additional fighters throughout the course of Early Access, additional venues. We have a couple big features that we're working on, Create a Fighter and Career Mode, that'll be a part of that journey for us getting there to that full launch. We know the console players are patiently waiting, and we're doing everything that we can to make it awesome for them.
That's awesome. And how about from the PC players who are in the early access? What's kind of been the feedback been? Overall positive?
Yeah, it's been good. I mean, I think one of the great things about, you had talked to me earlier about, following the game since it was ESBC, and we have a lot of people that are kind of in that mold who have been playing Steam Early Access, and so they're making sure we do our due diligence, right, in terms of we say we're making an authentic boxing game, they're going to hold us to it, so we get feedback about things like stamina and damage and a lot of balance work, and that stuff is really important to us right now because, when it's 30 people playing in the studio, it's a lot different than opening it up to thousands of players who are then going to give us tons of feedback and some great data as well to understand how close we are to that experience of authenticity that we're looking for.
That's awesome. And, just playing it, the game has a lot of unique elements with the controls, with the standing up method, when you get knocked down. Yeah. Also, it looked almost a little ragdoll-y when he fell. I don't know if that was a preset animation when I knocked him down, but it looked a little ragdoll, yeah. But which is good. I love that. But besides
like a stiff,
it's a preset. But other things we didn't go over. What makes Undisputed Boxing? I almost said ESBC. Yeah. What makes Undisputed Boxing, in your opinion, special, unique?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a few things. I mean, when we talk about authentic boxing, right, it's really going to be the small detail things that players and boxing fans will care about. So when we're talking with you guys about, Kenny Bayless is the referee, or Jimmy Lennon Jr. is doing, calling you into the ring, announcing you into the ring, it's the small details. And I think inside the ring, it's a lot about footwork. We've really worked very hard on our footwork system. It's not the first 3D boxing game, but I think we feel like we've innovated a little bit in the ability to use that like lateral movement, really make sure you can use every inch of the ring. The footwork doesn't sound exciting, but right, when just me talking about it, but when you see it in the game and your ability to be able to move to where you want to move to and pick those shots and angles and things like that, I think that's a big differentiator for us.
The game, look, you say it doesn't sound fun, but for me as a boxing fan, somebody who's grown up playing boxing games, an emphasis on footwork and movement is authentic boxing, and you feel it when you move around with the characters. For one, the way each character moves looked a little bit different, at least in the two characters that we saw. And then you have that loose hands mode, so I love it. It doesn't sound exciting maybe for you, but for me as a fan,
even if it doesn't sound exciting when you're playing it, I think you're going to appreciate the value of why it's there. Mm-hmm. And if you choose to not use that, you're going to be kissing canvas. Yeah. I mean,
well, I think we spent
I'm a living example of what happens when you just go in swinging.
I think we spent the first 30 minutes or 30 seconds just kind of moving around in the match, and it felt fluid. It felt really, really good. So I'm so excited for this release. You said anticipating coming to consoles down the line. There's no actual release date yet, which is, I always love to hear that, versus set in stone on a deadline and then things get rushed. But before we let you go, Will, is there anything else that you want to tell our listeners about the game, or where they can find you guys on social media, that kind of stuff?
Yeah, we're basically Play Undisputed everywhere. If you go to playundisputed.com, you can find our information. I think we're just really excited to have a boxing game. We think gamers deserve a boxing game, and we're happy to have so much support that's helped us get here.
Awesome.
I will say, before we close, probably one of the best visually and smoothest playing boxing games I've ever played. So this is going to be a hit.
Yeah, I'm so excited. So thank you again for joining us, Will.
Thank you
and I'm so excited for this full release.
And last but certainly not least, we also bumped into Matteo311.
We were sent to find him. It was a scavenger hunt. We had to.
Yeah, hey, I heard he was there. We had him on the podcast a while ago for an interview. He was kind of what I'll say is one of the first VR established content creators or YouTubers or influencer, whatever the word you want to use. He was established in the world of VR content. and he saw us, and he was probably one of the first that really opened, arms wide open to us, reached out, we talked and really treated us like we were probably more established at the time than we were, just really cool. So saw the opportunity to talk to him there and couldn't resist a good little interview. So hope you all enjoy this one too, and we'll be back with you right after that.
Here we are at PAX East with, longtime podcast friend.
Anybody could be at PAX East.
That's true, and this is a good example of it. We're here with Matteo311.
They let this guy in.
Come on, if they let him in, you guys gotta come too.
That's
definitely.
right.
So, we had a couple of our listeners saying, hey, if you see Matteo, make sure to grab a photo. So we went one step further.
They put us on a Matteo hunt.
Yes.
Oh, awesome. We went out drinking. We had a good time so far.
Definitely a lot of fun with the Resolution crew, the Alchemy crew. So that was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So what do you think of PAX East 2023 so far? Because this isn't your first year, right?
Yeah, this is actually my 4th year now. 3 years as content creator, and it's really good. It's always a fun time. We would like a bigger VR presence here. The first year I came here, there was a huge VR presence. COVID shut that down. There was like a setup of like 100 people playing, but that's gone. So that kind of stinks. But besides that, it's awesome. Look at it.
We've had, like you said, a little limited on like the amount of VR booths, but the ones that are here seem to be getting a lot of
Solid.
attention.
Yeah.
Resolution with Demio. We have the Peaky Blinders booth. Come on, Peaky Blinders.
Yep.
And then hidden in there, we had a Mid-Hell VR have a booth too.
Medieval,
yeah. A Medieval. Yeah.
From New Blood. Yeah. No, that.
Instead of Mid-Hell. Oh my.
That's all right. I corrected you. We're all good. No, but that was just a really good demo. I didn't think they were going to be showing off VR today, and that was an awesome demo. Really solid. I've been looking forward to that game. I played on flat screen, and it's not going to disappoint. It is probably my biggest highlight here so far.
Yeah, I think I even saw them on Twitter posting like they weren't going to be demoing it. So then when I saw them having demos of it, I was like, no freaking way.
Yeah.
And for somebody who played a lot of the flat screen, you say pretty good port?
It's better.
Better.
And they got so excited when I said that.
Yeah. That's freaking awesome.
Like, a lot of times some people will be like, oh, everything's better in VR, everything's better. I don't personally believe that. But this game, definitely.
That gets me hyped. Unfortunately, I didn't get to play the flat screen version yet, but I think knowing that the VR port is coming, I think I got to hop right into it.
Yeah. I mean, it definitely helped. I was able to just trample through their demo because I was familiar with all the weapons and the enemies and stuff like that. And they noticed right away that I was familiar with the game. But
can we up the difficulty or?
No, but that's all right because the game is, the flat screen game can be quite difficult.
Yep.
So I was like, that's not what I'm looking for. I don't want to get spanked while people are watching.
I was gonna say with the TV on of it too.
Yeah, exactly. But no, it was a lot of fun.
Okay, that's awesome. And I think you mentioned they're integrating VR pretty good with using your power-ups and stuff like that.
So some of the weapons you use in the game were like swords, but something will come out of the sword. So rather than just pressing the trigger and it does a swipe, you actually swing. And that felt really good, felt really natural. There's one weapon that kind of shoots like a straight line almost, and you do that type of motion. When you activate your power-up, you hold it up, which just kind of goes well in the game. And the one thing I did that I always do in every type of melee game is I take my weapon and kind of swing it around. If you have a shield, I like to clank. No shield here. But the second I take my axe, start swinging around, it starts going boom, 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 boom. And I was like, yes.
That's awesome. So yeah, I'm definitely excited for that. And besides the VR booths, is there any booths that stuck out to you in general? Flat screen, merchandise, anything like that?
Merchandise is always good. There's a lot of cool stuff that you don't find anywhere else, like Mass Effect plushies and Grogu's everywhere. But I'm trying to think what games flat screen that kind of stood out to me. There's some interesting stuff. There's an Aliens game coming out, which is
Alien Hamid one, or an Aliens the movie one?
Aliens the movie.
Okay.
And it was top-down isometric. Looked like 4-person co-op, so strategy type game. That looked pretty cool. Just trying to think what really caught my eye around the way. We're a lot more VR, so that's what we're looking for.
It sticks out more in your brain when you see something VR related.
And I'm also not willing to wait on certain lines, so I just go, oh, that looks cool, kind of keep walking. Gollum, the Lord of the Rings Gollum looked pretty cool.
Yep.
Yeah.
I agree on that 100%. And how long are you here at the convention for?
I'm here until tomorrow. Little short trip for me.
Yeah, but that's good. Both of us, we live in the area of Northeast, New England, so it's not the farthest trip for either of us, but, definitely glad to bump into you here. Still a lot more to check out, even though we haven't, you know, there's not the whole bunch of VR stuff. Still have not checked out the mid booth yet, so I need to go over there, try to weasel my way in based off of your recommendation there.
Yep. Flash the badge.
Yep. Media. Other than that, Matteo, thank you for joining us today. I'm glad we got a little clip of us for our listeners, and enjoy the rest of your conference.
Thank you.
Not bad, not bad. You know, good stuff at PAX. You know, a lot of fun on the floor with our, you know, what we saw, but also a lot of fun with these interviews. You know, nothing too overwhelming on each one. Like you said earlier, didn't want to be selfish, taking them away for an hour or anything like that, but good stuff.
I had the feeling some of them wouldn't have been upset about it. Because let's be honest, it gets you, you know, we did the Studio 217 interview sitting on the cement floor, and they were happy about it. They were like, oh, it just feels so good to get off my feet for a minute. So, you know, and I'm sure it's also nice to have an excuse to step away from what is a packed booth from the minute you walked in and they opened doors at 10 and you got 20,000 people just filling up a massive X hall. It's like, yeah, you guys only want 15 minutes?
Even Russ, you know, he had went from GDC to PAX, so I'm sure he was ecstatic to step away from the booth for a second.
His schedule is nuts.
Yeah. Well,
but again, at any level, that hustle is real.
You think that you don't work hard and get the Peaky Blinders and Doctor Who licensing? That's to me, that's somebody who hustles, you know, just right off the top. So
yeah, you know how to get the job done.
Yeah, I agree with you. I don't think some of them would have been exactly mad at an hour, but I didn't want to push it. But like we've been saying, at each one of these guys, we could, you know, each one of these people we could have back on for a full interview, no problem.
And you know what I like about Matteo?
What's that?
He's an honest dude.
Yeah, he'll tell you how it is right off the top.
He doesn't make up bullshit, and he doesn't have to clickbait you. He's pretty friggin' honest.
Yeah, and you know, I know some people don't like honesty. Me, I do. I'd rather know that somebody's not going for the views or just trying to monetize to the max. He's authentic. He'll tell you how it is in person, on the video. It's going to be the same.
Yeah,
person
you're not getting
response.
you're not getting like, oh my god, dude, you're so much different in your videos than you are in real life. Like, it's cool when you see people in real life and they're actually like legit.
Yeah, and it was really cool just to put, you know, you see these people on videos, or in the case of, you know, some of these developer studios, we've talked to them online, but it was really cool to meet in person, put some faces to names and pictures and all that fun stuff.
Yeah, just like we say certain things, like especially in like chat programs, how if you humanize somebody, you know, you'll look at the whole situation different. So as a whole, it's nice to put a face to the, you know, just posts or words.
Even like, I mean, come on, man. Demio was our first ever game reviewed, first ever episode of the podcast.
We have a admitting soft spot for Resolution.
Yeah,
there's no doubt.
That was really cool.
But I mean, I'll say anything that we've kudoed Resolution for has been deserved, regardless of bias. That like, oh, it's like really that first game that we ever reviewed. It's like,
I don't think that's affected our other Resolution game.
At the time that we reviewed it, Pop 1 was more important to me than Demio, but Demio
was front and center on our brain.
It was a friggin', he can't deny it. So it was like, shit, as much as I love friggin' Pop 1, it's like, it can't be the first.
Yeah. So
even though it should have been,
it was number 2.
It couldn't be.
It was number 2. It was number 2.
No, I had a blast with the Resolution.
Yeah. And again, we'll definitely be at PAX East again next year. So I guess to wrap up the show, check out this little clip of us in the car on the way home from PAX, just to wrap this baby up. So hope you all enjoyed, and you know, subscribe, rate us 5 stars, and definitely check us out next week, where we'll be back with, you know, more news, game reviews, you know, back on the normal grind. But I'm already excited for next year.
And we're on our way back from PAX East.
Driving safely with microphone in hand.
Come on, that's the only way to do it, right? We were joking, like, do we do it outside the car? But then it was raining.
It started pouring in Boston.
And then something about a podcast wrap up in a car just sounded too freaking cool.
I mean, how many times are we going to be able to do that? We're not driving around, you know, price of gas. I'm not going to drive around for our podcast. It costs me $20.
So overall, though, our first year at PAX, you know, we only did 2 out of 4 of the days. I thought that was going to be, you know, like, too much time. But I definitely think we could have easily done 4 days.
No. As it stands now, I'm of the mindset we'll be there 4 days.
Yeah, Thursday and Sunday next year are a must.
Even without the influx of VR representation there. I mean, every VR booth was slammed. Every time we walked by all weekend, it was slammed. We're praying and kind of gambling that
even though you're saying the dates for next year's.
Yeah, it looks like GDC and PAX's dates are already locked in, and it looks like they overlap again.
We'll have to see how that really plays out, but as it is, it's like there's more than enough to do there for 4 days.
Oh yeah, if anybody hasn't been to PAX East or a gaming convention like that in general, highly recommend.
And I also have a much larger respect for cosplay.
Oh yeah,
some of those really good outfits were, I mean, I get some of the, like, looks like I put it together, but in talking to somebody who does make cosplay outfits, she invests 200 hours per outfit, and they do need repairs. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, so you kind of referenced it though, like the VR scene at PAX this year wasn't the biggest.
No.
But the VR that was there kicked ass. Like Demio's booth was one of the highlights of the like it was always packed.
Always. We got pictures, but all you really see is heads in most of them.
Mm-hmm.
But that, I mean, good for them. Resolution crushing it.
And then like a mid-hell VR, they were demoing out their port, and that had a huge audience too.
It looked like they had a 10 by 10 space with a little 4-foot little bump out with a table, and we tried literally for 2 days to get into that booth, but crazy.
Yeah, and then
it couldn't be done. And we're also not going to try to
force our way in. And say, you know who we are.
Get our credentials.
And then Peaky Blinders was there too. I'm actually wearing a Peaky Blinders hat right now. Peaky fucking Blinders.
Peaky Blinders, mate.
And they kicked ass.
Yeah, they gave us the copper hat.
They had, it was not just the swag, and we had a great interview with Ross, but that was another booth that was packed.
I knew we were going to be talking to them, and before we went and been playing the game, watching the show. I wouldn't say it was going to be the highlight for me. But afterwards, I mean, I'll say, in all honesty, Demio was probably, just because we freaking love Demio, but it was probably
the number one highlight.
Yeah, that's the one I really wanted.
Well, dude, that was our first ever game. Our first ever episode of the podcast was reviewing Demio. So that was definitely a soft spot in our heart.
Peaky Blinders, I mean, everybody there had accents. Everybody there was dressed in character. They even had a big life-size, larger than life-size cutout. I'd like to think the actor's not that tall. But you could put on props, like little furs.
Yeah, take a selfie with him.
Put on some Peaky hats and take a selfie. I mean, they did it. I mean, their booth was, again, I didn't expect I'd be saying Peaky Blinders was the highlight for me, but definitely my number 2 of the whole convention.
And even, example, there was one VR game. We got to sit down and talk with the developers too. Pin City. It's not even out yet. They said still couple years away.
Yeah, 2 years away.
And dude, every time we passed that booth, there was a line.
Slammed.
So it's like there wasn't a bunch of VR, but anything that had a VR headset, it seemed like the consumers of PAX were dying to try it.
And I'll say this too, some of the flat screen ones we did get to
like Undisputed
Undisputed
Boxing.
Now I'll use a different example because that one's really polished, but there were a couple like pre-alpha tests.
Yep.
And it was a pretty complete. Was the autopsy simulator?
The airport simulator was the pre-alpha.
Pre-alpha, yeah. Yep. But looking at what you had to play with, not what I would have expected for a pre-alpha.
No.
Not at all. I mean, that was a polished.
And then some games like, you just said a moment ago, the autopsy simulator was badass.
We don't do a lot of plugging of the flat screen, but autopsy simulator.
Well, hey, dude. Sorry to change topics a little bit, but I mean, on that, I've never seen a game be so suitable for VR, but not be in VR.
Yeah. We're gonna wait a little while and then try to bug the developer and see if that's I mean, they're still finishing their game, but that one kind of blew me away.
Yeah, no, that was awesome. And I mean, so great convention. We're tired.
Great people.
We were out late last night, definitely.
Want to definitely thank PAX for the invite.
Yeah, for
that was
the
huge.
Good old. We have I'm still wearing it now. We got our media badges.
Yeah.
And then, big thank you to Resolution Games for
Alchemy Labs
for their after party.
That was nice.
Demio and Resolution Games, they even had I guess you could say, for lack of a better term, VR content creator, but she's a really good cosplayer, quick cosplay. And she was there. We only saw one of her outfits. She was alternating between 2, but they were freaking badass.
Not just that, but the one that we saw her in
with Klepto,
she has to stay hunched over.
Yep.
all day.
In the hot.
I mean, she said she's got a couple of fans and some ice packs.
Yeah,
to keep
but you know how
cool,
the human
but there's
body is,
no
dude.
way that you're staying freaking cool in that thing. And that was a full, literally head to toe outfit.
And she did great with like staying in character with it, interacting with people, you know,
the whole day,
taking pictures. So huge props to her too, you know, at the
Hunched
Resolution
over,
Games
dude.
team.
No freaking, you couldn't pay me money. I don't think I'd be able to physically do it.
Yeah.
I would break.
And I will say too, I think every single person we met involved in the VR scene was awesome. Extremely nice,
yeah.
super welcoming. You know, Resolution, they welcomed us with open arms the second we showed up. So, you know, huge thank you to them. Like you said,
We lingered there whenever
we
we
loitered.
could. Yeah.
Loitering is a good term for it.
Allowed loitering, we'll say. We weren't thrown out.
No. I mean, ignore the fact that, you know, there's still one more day of the convention. I'm just kidding. We only did 2 days this year. But like I was joking, I think, like I was saying, I think next year we'll definitely have to do all 4.
Yeah, it's a must.
Yeah.
Just not enough time. Too much, you know, walking 8 to 10 miles a day.
So I'm planting the seeds now. If you're in the VR scene, let's go to PAX East next year. Let's take over, you know?
I'm praying, dude. I really am. But it was also nice to meet some content creators, some TikTok creators.
It wasn't bad only having the amount we had there, too, because, again, what VR was there was really good. It was a hit.
Well, gotta be selfish. It made it very easy for us. Obviously, if there was more VR, we'd probably still be there.
Yeah.
But it
was a good first convention for us. You know, don't get me wrong. I'm sure we would do GDC as our first convention if it popped up like that.
Someone
but
wants to fly us out. Absolutely.
For our first ever one, I guess PAX East wasn't bad either to have it at this size too.
No.
So great stuff too. We also saw some VR content creators. You know, we did a little interview with gaming with Matteo with Matteo311. But you know, we also sat and just had some drinks with him, talked. It was a lot of fun to meet him. We met another VR content creator that we engage with a lot on TikTok, Luxotic. You know, he was there, super young kid, 24.
Dude, his TikTok videos are funny.
Yeah, so, you know, we met some content creators, some great developers, saw some good flat screen stuff. So overall, just great convention.
Yeah, no complaints at all, and I'm already counting down the days till next year.
Yeah, so stay tuned for that. And if you're on the fence at all, we'll be there next year, so I hope to see you there too.